Emma's mother comforts her as Noah approaches. Seeing them take Riley's body away from the station, he angrily asks the police how they could have let this happen. With Piper in the background recording the conversation, Maggie and Emma arrive at Tyler's crashed car accident, hearing Tyler was decapitated from the crash, and where they pulled a Brandon James mask from the wreck. And while the characters seem hopeful, this could all be over. The next day, Piper's podcast is being listened to by a few characters. After getting to know the students, she feels terrible about what's been going on. In Emma's room, Brooke is feeling extremely guilty for leaving Riley behind so she could have some fun, and Emma tells her she feels responsible as well. We jump to Noah, who is also in a slump, when Audrey shows up and tries to comfort him. Noah thinks if he punched his V-card, the rules of horror would apply, and he wishes he had died instead of Riley. Noah suggests vigilante justice, and Audrey suggests their names could be Bi-Curious and the Virgin. At a town meeting, Jake is happy both Nina and Tyler are out of the picture and trying to make a truce with Will, but it's obvious Will still doesn't trust him after they almost attacked each other. Brooke also reveals that the mayor is actually her father. Sheriff Hudson announces that Tyler was to blame for all the attacks, and now that he's dead, it's truly over. Audrey is upset with Sheriff Hudson for not mentioning Rachel as a victim, and Emma calms her down but also reveals she thinks the killer is still out there. Sheriff Hudson is with Maggie, trying to see if they can confirm the burnt body from the wreck is Tyler. But Maggie tells him it will take time, leaving Hudson wondering why she hasn't gotten his teeth checked, which she agrees would be faster if they could find his head, which is still missing. Will comforts Emma at work, reminding her of the good times they had with Riley. She calls him a good friend, which isn't what he wants to hear, but soon after, Brooke gives Emma a call. At the same time, Brooke is shopping for funeral nail polish when she gets a message about voting for who you'd rather see on the chopping block next, Brooke or Emma. Her numbers are far higher than Emma's. Piper talks to Emma after her order and mentions how everyone wants someone to blame for Tyler's killings, and Sheriff Hudson will be one of the scapegoats along with a few others. Emma gets a yearbook in the mail, and there's a page dedicated in memory of the Brandon James victims. The faces of the victims are cut out, and next to Emma's father's crossed-out picture, it says, "The truth lies where the mask was made." Emma takes the yearbook to Noah and Audrey. Noah explains that the Brandon James mask was to protect Brandon's sutures after each one of his surgeries. He had his surgeries at Lakewood General, which is now shut down. Noah wants to check it out, which Emma shuts down, saying it could be a trap, causing Noah to go off. Audrey figures Emma planned on going there alone, so she decides to go along with her to get some answers, leaving Noah behind. Sheriff Hudson tells Maggie that Riley's family wants to sue the city along with him, and now Rachel's case is also causing him problems. Brooke talks to her father, saying she can't reach her mom on the phone, which her father brushes off. She also thinks everyone hates her and ends up just leaving. Will tells Jake he got into Duke but didn't get the scholarship he needed, and he couldn't pay the tuition. Jake suggests they finish blackmailing the person Nina and Tyler targeted since he never deleted the video, since this might be Will's only chance for Duke. Audrey and Emma show up at the hospital, having second thoughts about going in but remembering that the killer probably could have attacked Emma a half-dozen times already, but hasn't. Arming themselves with a stun gun and a small pry bar, they go into the abandoned hospital. Audrey jokes about splitting up. They talked about the killer gender when Audrey suggested the voice on the phone possibly being a woman's, since you can use a $1.99 app to change its tone, which she uses to scare Emma. The girls follow a blood trail and find an image of the mask on a door. Inside the room, they find a headless, rotting pig missing its heart. The girls also see Brandon James's x-rays and find out that more than one mask was custom-made for him after each surgery. Noah shows up and barely dodges their attempts to attack him before going into a monologue about finding the killer's lair. The only problem? This lair seems staged, much like what you would find in unrealistic scenes in shows. The killer took souvenirs from his victims, and the group spots the missing yearbook pictures along with pictures of Emma. Emma then spots Nina's laptop and copies the files from the computer to Audrey's camera SD card, as they hear someone inside the hospital with them. On their way out, they spot a Brandon James mask, but when Emma grabs for it, Tyler's head falls from the shelf. As the three of them run for the exit, they run into Sheriff Hudson. Back at the station, amidst rantings about their stupidity, he says they swept the hospital a week ago and found nothing. He only showed up since someone saw them go into the hospital and reported it. Since they found Tyler's head, the sheriff agrees with Tyler not being the killer anymore. Brooke is soaking up the rays when she sees her numbers rising even more, upsetting her. Her dad gives her a present from her mother and tries to cheer her up when his phone goes off, distracting him and causing Brooke to think he doesn't really care. When we read his phone, it shows the blackmailers want $100,000 by tomorrow. Brooke contacts Jake to meet her and admits she doesn't want to be selfish anymore. Jake takes the opportunity to comfort her, Audrey and Noah tried to open the encrypted files to see that only one file was copied, so Noah went to work trying to get it open. While Emma is at work, she spots Piper, who is getting ready to leave town, but Emma tells her to stay because the investigation is not over. Noah and Audrey finally cracked the file, which shows Emma and Will getting intimate, and before they could do anything, it automatically uploaded to the web and got sent to everyone's phone. Emma sees her phone and reveals the video is her first time. Emma arrives at school, feeling the weight of everyone's attention on her. Audrey, who understands how it feels, offers her some words of encouragement. Will approaches Emma, who has been avoiding him, thinking he was responsible for recording them. However, Will is just as clueless as she is. Emma suspects Jake might be behind it all, but Will denies it and swears he would take drastic action if it were true. Suddenly, Emma receives a chilling phone call from the killer, taunting her with the question, "How does it feel to be the star of the show?" She quickly hangs up, only to discover a disturbing picture of her and Will from the compromising video with the words, "Just like your mother." Sheriff Hudson visits the crime scene at the hospital and finds the mayor there, who informs him that Detective Lorraine Brock, who was Hudson's partner years ago, has taken charge of the investigation because the higher-ups are dissatisfied with his results dealing with the murders. At school, Noah apologizes to Emma for accidentally uploading the video, and she forgives him. Mr. Branson begins a discussion about the Scarlet Letter in class, while Emma and Will become targets of bullying due to the video. When class ends, Kieran talks to Emma, who questions him about his absence. He tells her he's been out of town handling insurance matters since his mother's passing. Emma confides in Kieran, expressing her belief that she only keeps making things worse for herself, and decides to leave it to the police to handle. Will chats with Jake, expressing his anguish over the video, which he considers his worst nightmare. Jake reveals that he has seen the video and wonders if he plans to tell Emma the truth. Will hoping Emma never finds out since it will only hurt her. Jake playfully mocks Will's affection for Emma and mentions their plans for the following day, where they intend to follow through with Jake's blackmail scheme. A candlelight vigil is held for the victims, and Audrey places a picture of Rachel, as she believes Rachel deserves to be remembered alongside the others. Piper approaches Emma, inquiring about her well-being, and mentioning that Rachel's parents claimed Audrey had intimidated Rachel into doing things she wouldn't normally do. Emma finds it hard to believe, but Piper reminds her that the truth can be elusive without the full story. Detective Brock introduces herself to Emma and requests a meeting for the next day to ask her some questions. During the vigil, Emma attempts to talk about Riley, but is interrupted when she sees a video of herself on her phone. Overwhelmed, she receives a text from the killer, warning her against sharing any information with the police, or else her mother's heart will be delivered to her in a box. Despite the threat, Emma continues with the vigil, but her anxiety heightens when she believes she spots someone wearing a Brandon James mask, leading to a minor panic attack. The following day, Emma meets with the new authorities, but refrains from revealing anything, as Detective Brock seems to have figured most of everything out on her own anyway. Brooke confides in Jake about her reluctance to keep lying to Emma, unaware that Emma overhears their conversation. Jake advises Brooke to do what she feels is necessary. Meanwhile, Noah conducts some detective work, trying to determine how someone obtained the footage of Emma and Will. He discovers malware embedded in the school system that was downloaded with the language arts homework. Audrey suspects there was probably an alliance between Mr. Branson and Nina. Brooke finally reveals the secret from freshman year to Emma, divulging that Will took a bet to sleep with her within a month, instigated by Nina, who wanted to bring Emma down a notch. Emma contemplates severing ties with Brooke, but realizes she can't afford to lose any more friends after already losing 2. The mayor goes to a warehouse to deliver the blackmail money. He gets in the car as instructed. A masked Jake realizes that not all the money is there. He slams Brooke's father's head, causing his nose to break. He threatens to release a video unless the remaining $100,000 is obtained within the next day, which Brooke's father agrees to. Will grows fed up with Jake, as Jake promised no one would get hurt. Will tells Jake he's done with his plan, as Jake sees him as being ungrateful. Piper notices Emma in distress and offers her some alcohol. She shares her own story of overcoming hardships and reveals that her father was murdered when she was young, and the case remains unsolved. Piper turned to podcasting about morbid events as a coping mechanism. Will shows up, and Emma confronts Will about the bet, and although Will tries to explain himself by saying he loves her, Emma says they're officially done. They're not friends, and they're definitely not together. And the worst part was learning about it from Brooke, and not him. Brooke is freaking out after learning her mom wasn't where her dad said she was. Being frustrated with everything going on, he tells her the truth. He sent her mom into rehab, where she couldn't have any communication for 2 months. Brooke can't believe he's okay with that, and leaves. Brooke goes to school and tells Jake everything that transpired with her mom when Will confronts her about what she told Emma. Jake becomes defensive and intervenes between Brooke and Will, leading to a physical altercation that leaves Jake bloody before Mr. Branson intervenes. Later, during self-defense class, Audrey flings Will and taunts him for hurting Emma once again. Afterward, Kieran waits for Emma and starts getting a bit physical with his flirting, and when Will notices them, they kiss. Audrey and Noah secretly enter Mr. Branson's office and discover that Riley's assistant account had access to his computer, leading them to consider the possibility that he may have killed everyone to protect his secret. When Mr. Branson enters the office, Audrey and Noah maintain their composure, hinting that Noah is considering finding a new partner without raising suspicion. Emma conducts research on Brandon James on her computer when the killer calls her, playing a recording of her conversation with Will. Emma defiantly declares that her life is not a game, but the killer insists it is, and that it will only end when they choose to end it. Hudson and Maggie talked that night about how he used to be partners with the detective Lorraine Brock, and how they would hook up when they were loaded. But he doesn't do that anymore. None of that deters Maggie, as Clark kisses her for the first time, and she responds in kind. Jake visits Brooke at her house, bearing pizza. He reveals that Tyler and Nina had a video of her father and were blackmailing him. He goes a step further, accusing Will of keeping the video and continuing the blackmail to finance his education. Unbeknownst to Jake and Brooke, Brooke's father overhears the conversation and writes down Will's name. The police manage to access Nina's computer and are shocked by the number of videos they find. Jake, having the video, asks Brooke if she's sure she wants to see it. She wants to know what her father is hiding. The video of her father, which seemingly depicts him dragging a body into their house just a day after her mother disappeared, making her fear the worst. In the closing moments of the episode, Kieran takes Emma into the woods to teach her how to shoot. However, when he offers her the gun, she doesn't feel comfortable accepting it. Instead, they decide to engage in a passionate encounter in the open field. After their intense hookup in the middle of a desolate field, Emma's mind was racing with conflicting emotions. Determined to face her fears head-on, she asked Kieran to take her to Brandon's house, hoping to uncover the truth once and for all. As they stepped inside, a sense of eerie anticipation hung in the air. She discovered a fresh daisy. With Kieran watching her, she advances in the house when she sees a newspaper article about Brandon James, and then she notices Kieran is nowhere to be found. Before she could comprehend the situation fully, her phone rang, jolting her nerves. As she answered, she pleaded with the killer not to hurt him when he mocked her for thinking it was her idea to come there in the first place. Striking fear into her, she tries for the exit, which is locked. When she goes back, she gets stabbed. As she lay on the ground with the killer on top of her, she unmasked her assailant, only to be met by her own reflection. Then Emma wakes up from her unsettling nightmare. As Emma makes her way downstairs, she sees Hudson and her mom kissing, which she fully supports if it makes her mom happy. Will takes a seat next to Piper, and she tries to convince him to go on the podcast to tell his side of things, which might help him with Emma. Meanwhile, Noah's relentless pursuit of the truth led him to uncover a disturbing fact. Mr. Branson only existed in Lakewood and nowhere else. While he and Audrey hesitated to place the blame solely on him, their thoughts gradually shifted to Nina's involvement with Mr. Branson. In class, Brooke can't stop thinking about the video when Jake offers to go with her to check it out after school. Noah suggests Audrey make an apology to Will for that judo move she did the other day, which Will says he deserves, and they all kind of make amends. Emma and Kieran find it kind of weird that their parents are hooking up like they are. Detective Brock summoned Maggie into her office to ask why Rachel's death took so long to be considered a murder, leading to 2 more deaths. Maggie tries to defend Hudson, but Brock knows she has a bias for him. Then she reveals they overlooked DNA evidence that belongs to someone with a clear motive, leading the police in the direction of Mr. Branson's classroom, where they sought to interrogate Audrey for answers. Noah and Emma go to a place to talk privately, where Noah tells Emma everything about Mr. Branson, including his spy malware and his fake identity, and thinks he might have framed Audrey since he saw them in his office. Then Mr. Branson entered the room and wanted to talk to Noah about his assignment. Inside the dimly lit room, Brock wasted no time in confronting Audrey about the video project she had collaborated on with Rachel. Then she brings up how Rachel, who was her alibi for the night of Nina's murder, is dead now. Just as she was about to respond, Sheriff Hudson intervened, citing Audrey's status as a minor and the necessity of having a guardian present. Will waits for Brooke to tell her about the blackmailing when she tells him she already knows from Jake. But when he retorts that it was Jake who dragged him into this trouble, she doesn't believe him since Jake doesn't need money, telling him he messed with the wrong family. Audrey's father arrived and approved of the questioning since he believes Audrey is innocent. Brock swiftly presented the damning evidence. The mask found on Tyler's head has Audrey's DNA within its confines. Brock thinks Audrey went out with Rachel to make a movie when they decided to kill Nina when they saw the video. And when Rachel felt guilty about everything and before she could confess, Audrey killed her to leave no witnesses to her crime. The last thing Brock needs is the footage Audrey recorded that night. With her world unraveling, Audrey takes a chance to reach out to Noah, but he doesn't pick up, so she calls Emma instead. Noah leaves Mr. Branson's room and thinks he might be innocent, and he thinks Tyler might have uploaded the malware on Mr. Branson's computer without him knowing. Noah, being sneaky, was able to get his fingerprints by asking for his phone number if he had questions about his project. Then Emma gets the call from Audrey. Audrey is desperately urging Emma to destroy an SD card containing video footage from the night of Nina's murder. Brock walks in to see her on the phone and informs her they've got a search warrant for her home, so she's not going anywhere. Brooke and Jake search where the body could be. They find nothing but the guest room bed sheet, providing some relief to Brooke. However, she still wondered whose body her father was moving. Emma and Noah arrive at Audrey's house. They break in and rush to retrieve the SD card. When the police arrive, they narrowly get away just in time. Now with the SD card, they both can't seem to destroy it out of pure curiosity about what's on it. Emma gets a call from her mom saying Brock needs to talk to her at the police station. Brock knows Audrey called her and asks if she was the one who broke into Audrey's house. Emma denies everything, and Brock warns her that if Audrey is the killer, she would be responsible for releasing a murderer. While Jake returns to the changing room, he finds the phone and money gone. He goes to confront Will about his missing money and phone, and he delivers a chilling warning. If he tries to get him in trouble, he will find himself in a ditch in pieces. This finally gets Will to confide in Piper with a new story for her podcast if she helps him. Noah and Emma brace themselves as they watch the SD card Audrey had urged them to destroy, revealing a furious Audrey consumed by thoughts of revenge against Nina, since she would never face any consequences for her actions and vows to carry out justice herself. Rachel desperately implored Audrey to reconsider and to think before acting upon her anger. Yet Audrey remained unfazed by Rachel's plea, as she told Rachel to turn the camera off. Maggie comes to check on Emma, who has doubts that Audrey is innocent. Maggie, wanting to help clear Emma's mind, takes her to her old family home, which stood adjacent to Brandon James's house. Maggie recounted her childhood friendship with Brandon over the years, and how they became good friends. Brandon knew Maggie and Emma's father were having issues, and he attended the dance. He wanted to tell her she deserved better when one of her friends heard the conversation and told her father. That's when the bloodshed happened. But Maggie doesn't think Brandon was responsible. And when she told Brandon to meet her at the docks, her father found out and called the cops, who shot him. She regretted not defending her friend since she truly believed he wasn't capable of those terrible things, and was determined to spare Emma from a similar remorseful fate by not believing her friend. Finally ready to confront the truth, Emma sought out Detective Brock, laying bare every detail she knew. While acknowledging Audrey's thirst for revenge, she declared that Audrey never harmed Nina, recounting that she was with her that night and helping her put an end to Audrey's destructive intentions, giving her a new alibi for Nina's murder. Emma's unwavering resolve to testify to this truth paved the way for Audrey's release from custody. Outside the precinct, Emma and Audrey engaged in a heartfelt conversation. Audrey revealed that it was Rachel who ultimately halted her destructive path that night, and she clung to the tape as a stark reminder to never lose control again. In a surprising twist, the mayor returned to the warehouse and met with Will, who handed over the money and the tape. The mayor is about to pull his gun when Will mentions he doesn't want to die doing the right thing, which gets the mayor to back off, but leaves him with the warning that there's a killer still on the loose. In an unexpected turn of events, Piper, who had been observing from the shadows, emerged onto the scene. However, as Piper and Will sought to exit, they found themselves trapped behind a locked door. As they retraced their steps, the killer appeared behind them, mercilessly stabbing Will and incapacitating Piper. Rather than delivering a fatal blow, the masked assailant dragged Will away into the unknown, leaving Piper battered and disoriented. The scene unfolds with Piper awakening to the sight of the blood trail left by Will when the killer abducted him. Meanwhile, the killer pays a visit to the captive Will, who is bound and restrained. Maggie is excited about having dinner with Hudson and Kieran tonight as Kieran honks for Emma, and she tells her mom they're just friends, but when they arrive at school, they have a makeout session. Audrey and Noah notice that Mr. Branson has a substitute teacher and discover that the malware has been completely removed from the system like it never existed. Emma approaches Jake and Brooke, inquiring about Will's whereabouts since he messaged her but is nowhere to be seen. They inform Emma about Brooke's father's blackmail situation. When Piper shows up, she takes them to the warehouse where they were attacked. Brooke discovers Jake's complicity in the blackmail scheme and can't believe he tried to blame Will for everything. But he mentioned that without them, she wouldn't know about her dad's shady act. Piper explains she wanted a story, and after they finished the deal with the mayor, the killer attacked her, but Will saved her. Piper then leads them to a message written in blood. "No cops, Emma." Emma tells everyone to go outside so she can think. Soon after, the killer contacts Emma. Hearing Will mumbling on the line, the killer says if she wants Will, she needs to play hide-and-seek like Brandon and Daisy did. The killer also mentioned that her mom is a liar, and she better find Will. Emma seeks out Noah, inquiring about Audrey's not answering her calls. Noah informs her that Audrey missed her exam due to being interrogated, so she's busy. Concerned, Emma asks Noah for assistance in finding Will. When Noah questions the urgency, she explains that Will's life is in danger. Brooke confronts her father, revealing her knowledge of his actions and demanding information about her mother. He still insists that her mother is in rehab in a different state, but he remains silent and refuses to disclose any further details regarding the situation in the video. However, when Brooke mentions Will's disappearance, her father claims to have no knowledge of what happened to him. Frustrated by his dishonesty, Brooke asserts that she won't assist him if he continues to lie, and abruptly leaves. With Noah's help, they locate Will, and they all go as a group when Kieran calls, asking her where she is since they are about to have dinner at her place. Emma asks Kieran if he can cover for her, which he agrees to do. Jake pulls out a hunting knife as a weapon, just in case. As they split up, trying to find a way in, Jake contemplates the possibility of Noah being the killer, suggesting that killers often appear innocent and intelligent. Brooke finds Jake's suspicion absurd and dismisses the idea. Noah and Emma find a door leading inside and realize they are inside a bowling alley, where they meet up with Brooke and Jake, but they split up again to find Will. At the dinner, Hudson mentions Brock is no longer on the case, and Maggie decides to call Emma, but Kieran insisting on going to pick her up instead from Audrey's place, and leaves. Noah tells Emma he suspects Jake as the killer, since he would have had motivation to attack Will last night, and he's the last person who knows about the videos Nina had. As Jake fails to win Brooke, he lets out that he knows she has been seeing Mr. Branson, but she lets him know that's been over with. Jake goes off to the bathroom, leaving Brooke alone when she encounters the masked killer face to face, while Emma and Noah discover Will unconscious and bound. After cutting him down, Brooke runs to them, telling them the killer is out there with Jake. Audrey calls Noah. Noah tries to tell her what's happening, but the reception is bad, and the call drops. Emma holds Will as he becomes responsive. Audrey shows up at Emma's place, asking for Emma. Maggie, who thought she was with her, is just as confused as her. Audrey tells them what she made out from Noah's call, something about a bowling alley, and Will bleeding, which is enough for Hudson to grab his keys and call for backup. Emma bandages Will's wounds with duct tape while Brooke helps Noah make a spear. Emma notices the carving of B4 on Will's back. This clue leads Emma to uncover a tape with her father's name. Then a song plays over the speaker, with Brandon singing to Daisy. Emma leaves the room to find the tape player. Emma finds it and plays her father's tape, and when it plays, her father tells how he upset Daisy. But he can't understand how she could sleep with that monster. As they hear Jake screaming for help, Noah opens the door for Will, just for the killer to be waiting for them. Noah ends up losing his spear, and Will tells Brooke and Noah to run for it as he holds the door. Brooke finds Jake slumping down with his knife in his chest. She pulls the knife out, making Jake scream out loud. Emma runs towards Brooke when the killer appears right behind her, about to stab her, when Will intervenes, tackling the killer. The police arrive, but the killer manages to escape. Kieran arrives on the scene after hearing the commotion on the police scanner. Jake was taken in an ambulance, with Brooke accompanying him. Everyone else seems okay as the next day comes around. Hudson asks Emma why the killer is targeting her, but she says it has to do with Brandon James and people close to her lying to her. Kieran arrives, and they have a talk where he figures she still has feelings for Will, since they have been together for some time. While Kieran appears to accept it given the circumstances, it's clear that he knows what he wants. And that's Emma. Emma gets a call from Will, who assures her that it's him by reminiscing about their second date and inviting her over. Noah starts speculating that maybe Will or Jake could have planned everything in order to gain everyone's trust, which Audrey thinks is a pretty dark theory. Emma finally gets to Will's house, but as she arrives, she receives a call from the killer, pretending to be Will, but she sees through his deception. The killer tells Emma she forgave Will too easily like her mom did with her father, and he hates that. When she locates Will, he is tied to a chair with a trencher right behind him. In her attempt to save him, Emma unintentionally triggers a wire, causing the blade to lower on Will's head, splitting his head in two, killing him instantly.